The United Nations adopted an historic resolution to combat Holocaust denial and anti-Semitism, and it came on the anniversary of one of the darkest days in history. The timely action becomes the first Israeli-sponsored resolution passed by the UN General Assembly in 17 years, and only the second in Israel's history. The resolution, backed by dozens of countries, calls for action to combat Holocaust denial and distortion as anti-Semitism continues to surge globally. A key element calls on social media giants such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter to remove any offensive content of this nature from their platforms. Israel's UN ambassador cited a report showing the failure of social media companies in dealing with complaints over anti-Semitic content, including Facebook, which dealt with only 11% of the posts. Former Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, tells CBN News why this resolution is so significant.
Unfortunately, today with social media, we are seeing a wave of anti-Semitism, a wave of Holocaust denial, and I think the fact that the UN General Assembly will adopt a majority resolution saying that all countries should fight Holocaust denial, should educate about the Holocaust, is very important.
Thursday's vote also came on the 80th anniversary of the Wannsee Conference. That's when the leadership of Nazi Germany decided to implement the final solution, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews.
It's very important, very symbolic that we're passing the resolution actually today, but we have to learn the lesson about the future. When you have radical leaders actually speaking about how they can terminate the Jewish people, we have to take it seriously. So back then it was Nazi Germany, today the Iranian regime. When you hear the rhetoric, to the threats coming from Tehran, we should not ignore them. We should face them. We should take all the necessary measures to protect ourselves.
The first Israeli resolution supported by UN members came in 2005, designated January 27th as Holocaust Remembrance Day. Danon emphasized today's generation needs to learn about the Holocaust, especially from those who endured it. This week, CBN News sat down with 98-year-old Holocaust survivor Walter Bingham. Later this month is going to be International Holocaust Remembrance Day. What's the lesson that people need to take away?
Never again. Just 2 words, never again. The lesson is never again. Unfortunately, people don't learn.
The positive vote to combat Holocaust denial and anti-Semitism comes just weeks after the UN General Assembly, for the first time in its history, voted to establish a permanent commission of inquiry of one of its member states. Given the UN's long history of resolutions against the Jewish state, you might not be surprised to hear that member state is Israel. The unprecedented UN decision puts Israel under almost perpetual investigation, covering sovereign Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza.
I'm not aware of a commission of inquiry at the Human Rights Council that has been unlimited.
Hillel Neuer, head of UN Watch, says the idea for the commission started during Israel's war with Hamas last May.
You have the UN dedicating millions of dollars to targeting one single country, Israel. And keep in mind, this is not something to support peace, human rights, or justice. This is something to empower Hamas. We've seen it before. Hamas is the first supporter of these commissions of inquiry.
After the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan, the UN held an urgent session, but declined to adopt a commission of inquiry into the Taliban's human rights abuses affecting hundreds of thousands of Afghans. This commission is one of a kind.
It is unlimited in its scope. It has budgeted for millions of dollars. It's unique in that regard. It is going to look both at the hostilities that happened in May, but also at so-called systematic discrimination, which we know for certain, I would say, that they intend to be accusing Israel of the blood libel of apartheid, to accuse Israel alone of being a racist state.
Neuer believes those appointed to the commission expose its bias.
The chair of the inquiry is Navi Pillay. She was the former UN human rights chief. She has said that Israel treats international law with, quote, perpetual disdain. She has also accused Israel of being an apartheid state. So she's meant to be the impartial chair of this inquiry. It's a farce.
The commission must submit a report each year to the Human Rights Council and General Assembly. While the U.S. voted against the resolution, the Biden administration has rejoined the Human Rights Council after the Trump administration pulled out. Neuer says the U.S. has an opportunity.
We hope that they will call out the absurdity of members on the council like Cuba, China, Russia, Venezuela. Most of these countries have never had a single investigation or inquiry. That's wrong. The U.S. needs to take leadership. We need to press our representatives, our presidents, our secretaries of state to speak out and stand up for the right thing.
Alpha, Omega.